Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots. Blue shows Nestle Church, peasants, vassals, Burmese, Myanmarans. I'm a useful idiot. Today I want to talk about another country that isn't generally on the radar for most Americans, and that's a country called Myanmar, or as traditionally known, Burma. And we see all of the same characteristics we see all over the globe in all these countries that I talk about with the calamities of the post-colonial world and the repercussions from colonial borders, artificial colonial borders, ethnic rivalries, civil wars, and all the same sorts of bad actors. So, as usual, let me go through a little bit of history of Myanmar. And actually, before I do that, one reason why I'm saying that Myanmar is now on the map for the United States is Hillary Clinton visited there as Secretary of State in December 2011, and Barack Obama visited Myanmar in November of 2012, just last year. That's the first time a U.S. president has ever visited Burma. So quite a big deal, and there's a number of reasons why this is important and why Barack Obama would visit there. And so let's go through the history a little bit. Burma has, or Myanmar, has 60 million people, and it's the 24th most populous country in the world. So we have quite a population there, and they've been under military control since 1962. And they got their independence from Britain in 1948, and then just like so many of these other countries, they had all sorts of coups and struggles since then. But that's the history they had known before that as well, because they had 3 wars with the British in 1820s, 1850s, and 1880s. And then they were put under British rule, and then they were devastated in the World War II era, because the Burmese fought on both sides, and their country ended up being destroyed. And incidentally, 150,000 Japanese troops died in Burma alone, so a staggering number. And so we had a man named Aung San. He was the leader of the Burmese independent movement, and he became leader of the transitional government. And no sooner had Burma achieved independence when Aung San was assassinated, and several members of his cabinet were assassinated. So here we go again with the history of assassinations, military coups in these post-colonial worlds. And another thing that's interesting about Burmese history, or Myanmar's history, or specifically Myanmar, because that's the modern era. They've been known as Myanmar since the government changed the name in 1989. But they're known for systemic human rights violations, child soldiers, child labor, systemic military rape, slavery, human trafficking, and, of course, lack of freedom of speech, which seems like small potatoes compared to all the other violations. So this country has just recently had their first general election in 2010 and are moving towards a civilian government. They're opening up to more Western involvement, more Western investment. And so I'm a little bit critical, because once again we have this government accused of all these terrible abuses. But they have vast resources, and the U.S. cannot wait to get involved there. And certainly it's an effort to counter the influence of China once again. So we're countering the influence of China in Africa, and we're also countering the influence of China in their legitimate zone of influence in Asia. And this country is rich in precious stones, oil, natural gas, and minerals. No surprise there. And they also have a struggle going on, a civil war going on against numerous different ethnic groups that make up the country. But they have one in particular that's in the north, the Kachins. And it's a conflict, one of multiple conflicts that's collectively called the Burmese Civil War. And it goes on to this day. And in fact, there was a 17-year ceasefire between the Burmese government, the Myanmar government, and Kachin But that broke down in June of 2011, and now we have a full-scale war going on. Thousands killed, hundreds of thousands displaced, torture, landmines, airstrikes. This is definitely a full-blown war. And this Kachin independence movement was founded during the British occupation and started in the 1940s. So it's been going on ever since. And the Kachin region was virtually independent from 1961 and 1994, but then there was a Burmese offensive in 1994, or a Myanmar offensive, and the Kachins signed a ceasefire agreement, which was held until the very last couple of years. And 2009 hostilities flared up with a whole number of Burmese ethnic groups, the Han Chinese and the Kachins being one group, and we also have the Rohingya Muslims in the Arakan state. So we have a Muslim separatist movement in Burma as well. And but there's 135 distinct ethnic groups, so they have their work cut out for them in Burma in this post-colonial era, trying to keep all their different ethnic rivalries in check. And then we have a major oil pipeline from China and going through Myanmar. So Chinese investment, once again, is making a huge difference in that country. But the United States is going to try and counter that and move in there. We want to supply them with arms. We want to supply them with oil exploration. We want to help them exploit and develop their minerals. So that's what the future will hold. We already have Japan actually in there helping to develop rare earth metals. China, of course, has a near monopoly worldwide on rare earth metals, so other characters, including the U.S., will go to Myanmar to get their rare earth metals. So we have Russia, Ukraine, China, and India are all doing business there already, and they've already been selling weapons to the Myanmar government. But the United States wants to get in there and get a piece of the pie, and that's what it's all about. So watch for more moves, United States moves into Myanmar in the future. I don't think that the U.S. will get involved in counterinsurgency efforts with Myanmar against the Kachin rebels, or freedom fighters, depending on how you look at it. But I do think the United States presence, in spite of human rights violations of the government and the presence of Russia and China and the Ukraine, the United States will try and make a much larger presence there. So just look for more developments there. It will be interesting. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.